I sold my bike. The one I showed in the video. It's called a Huffy Sea Breeze. It had a basket on the front. Well, I bought it for $8 and I sold it for $20. Also, there was a Dutch oven. Not a real one, but it was still a Dutch oven. And it was cast iron, but it was they call it a bean pot. It had the lid, but a Dutch oven you can set coals on the top. But if the lid's rounded, you can't really set coals on the top. But I had already, it was weird because they had it. I said, man, I know what this is, and a lot of people don't know what this is. It's a Griswold, and it's an unmarked one. And so they had that bean pot, and I was like, man, I've sold one of these. And I said, well, I sold it for $30. And I said, well, I know I can get $30 for it, so I said, how much do you want for it? They said $40. I said, well, I'll give you $15. And they said no. So I seen them one more time. I seen them once again. And I said, they still had the pot, so I said, well, we take $15 for it? And they said no. So I waited like a week, you know, and seen them again. And then I was like, will you take $15 for that? And they're like, yeah. So I took it and I brought it over to my booth, or whatever, booth, or my little spot that I have, that I pay $10 for a day. It's $10 a day for like a little tiny little fucking spot. So I take it over there, and I'm like, fuck, I need like some oil or some WD-40 so I can rub it. Anyway, not you would want to use WD-40. But this guy had a can of WD-40 sitting next to me, and somebody walked up and was like, how much is that? And they're like, $1. And then they walked away, and I ran out and I was like, do you want $1 for this can of WD-40? They're like, yeah. So I grabbed it and I sprayed. I bought that Dutch oven for $15, and I sprayed it down, and I had steel wool that I had bought, and I scrubbed it all down with steel wool real quick, and somebody walked up while I was scrubbing it, and they said, how much you want for that? I said, $30. And they said, will you take 25? I said, yeah. And they whipped out 25 and bought it, so it instantly, it like sold. The act of me like scrubbing it like made people buy it, and I'm glad, because when I was scrubbing it, it was like flaking off and shit. It was pissing me off. It was either like baked on shit or something, I don't know, or it was like rust, I don't know. Whatever it was, I wasn't liking it. So I sold that motherfucker like that. And the bike, oh, I bought another bike. So I sold that bike. I said, well, now I need me another $5 bike. So I'm sitting there, and I'm looking, and there's a brown bike with a purple seat, and it's all fucked up, and I'm like, I like them fucked up. That's how I like them, because then I fix them. So I waited. This time I thought, oh, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to wait all day, and then at the end of the day, I'm going to offer him $5 for it. But then there was this bike, and it was amazing. It was like, oh, the Holy Grail bike, and I'm like, this is a $300 bike that I could sell. I could sell it for $300. And I'm like, and the guy's like, $40. And I'm like, oh my god, I gotta buy this. And then I was like, $20, and he's like, $30. I'm like, $25. He's like, no. I'm like, dude. Okay. And I like left. And then I came back and I'm like, $25. And he's like, no. And so I left and I came back and I'm like, $25. And he's like, no. So then I was leaving and I was like, $25? And he's like, no. And I'm like, fuck. It was worth every bit of $30. I kind of should have did it, but then again, I want that bike for $25. It's still worth $30. I should have totally got it, but I didn't get it. And that's because I don't buy bikes unless they're cheap as fuck, because I'm an ass. So it kind of sucks because I'm a little cheap about it, and I don't mean to be. It's because that's how people are to me. So I'm like a lemming. I like emulate them. Because some people, they're just like, if you're like, how much is this? They're like, $1. Okay, here's $1. They're like, how much is this? $1. Okay, here's $1. And it's just, then you're like, how much is this? They're like, $15. You're like, oh, they're impartial to that. And then you're like, well, how much is this? They're like, $1. And so I'll sit there and buy it. I'm like, okay. So I start buying everything that they got. Like, I found these two things in the garbage, and this one guy, he was gonna buy them for $25, and then he like changed his mind. And so one guy sat there and we were haggling, and I swear, like, it was like he haggled me for an hour, but he got them for $5. And I mean, it took like an hour to get it down to $5. And I'm just like, oh. And he got, I was like, well, if you buy this other bracelet, I said, this is a $5 bracelet. I said, I'll give you that weird looking spark plug that I had. And he's like, okay. And it took a while for him to really buy it. I'm not good at selling the bracelets, but I'm kind of like trying to like it. I felt like if I get in the mood of liking it, maybe it'll work a little better. That puppet that I had, I sold it for $1. I've been wanting a wool jacket really bad. Wool jacket. Why? I don't know. It's just supposed to be cool. So I got one for $3 at the flea market. So it's like, if you want something, it's like, I mean, a wool jacket's actually like really expensive. $3. I tried to talk them down. I said $1. They said no. Like $2. They're like, no. And I'm like, fuck it, here's $3. I found a pair of ice skates in the garbage, and I thought they would never sell. I sold them for $2. I kept a pair that fits me. I'm size 11 at size 12, and I figured that's still close enough to like ice skate for free anywhere I want. If it ever gets icy, I'll like slap them on and be like, I can ice skate, bitch. But really I can't. I'll probably like bust my ass. But luckily my ass is fat, so it won't really hurt. Or it will, and I'll be fucked. I thought I took a video of me ice skating, and I like fell down. No, it was somebody else. Yeah, it was like a couple people. I was ice skating and I kept fucking busting my ass, and they were filming me, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna end up on like fucking funniest home videos or something. Cause I was like going fast, and I was like blah, and I was like blah, and like fucking like busted my ass, dude. I was like bleeding and shit, and I like kept going, and I fell like 3 times. I felt like I was almost gonna break my elbow or something. I don't know. Freaking ice hurts. No, I'm not good at skating. I figured it out eventually. I think after the 3rd time, I was like, yeah. I was doing like spins and shit. I bought a lamp for $2. And it's sitting right here. It's pretty cool. I keep finding weed eaters. I've been trying to find a little engine, and this one guy had one, and he was like, oh, I want too much for it. It was attached to a plane, and I was like, I just want the engine. I don't want the plane. And I only want the engine for like $1. And I told the guy, I was like, well, I'll probably find an engine for $1 somewhere. And I went to the next booth over, and I'm like, how much you want for that weed eater? He's like, $5. I'm like, how about $1? He's like, no. He's like, give me $4 and leave right now. And I was like, I should give him $4 and leave right now. And I did, for whatever reason. But I figured it's worth, to me it's like a weed eater. It's a motor. I get to start it. I like that. And then it's like I went to the next yard sale, and then the guy's like, I'm like, oh, you got a chainsaw, how much is that? He's like, $10. And I'm like, will you take 5? And he's like, yeah. And so it's like a 50cc with like a big 18-inch bar. No, it's like a 20-inch bar. It's got a big 20-inch bar on it. And I had it running once, and then I went to go run it again, and it wasn't working, so I gotta fiddle with it a bunch more. I'll get it working. The last one, I had to redo everything, but I had that thing purring like a kitten. But I don't know how long it really would last, because the head gasket on it like broke, so I just took it off and kind of put my own gasket on there of like the high temperature stuff. But it's like, maybe that stuff don't work. But I put it all back together and it worked really good. Since it didn't have a head gasket, it had like way more compression. That was pretty cool. It had like a little bit more compression. It was like ran a little better. One of the weed eaters I bought runs, but it doesn't have the head. And so I went to one thing, and the guy had the head. And he's like, $5. And I was like, oh my god, I don't have $5. Wait 5 minutes. I don't have $5. So I come back. It's gone. He sold it for 10. And I'm like, ah. Came back 5 minutes later and it was gone. And I'm like, I buy broken weed eaters all day. Nobody wants them. But this one they wanted, of course, because it had all those parts that you need. Because I already got one that runs. Just don't have the head. Man, I put them on bikes like these. I could buy this $5 bike that I bought. I could slap a motor on it, and it's $60 right there. And people are like, "Holy shit! I gotta have this thing." And it's cool. I want it. It's probably worth $60. It takes a day to do it though. If you got really good, you could make a couple in a day. And once you make the one, you can just start matching all the parts up. A lot of times when I do it, it's like every one I do is a little different. I was thinking that even the next one I'm going to do, I want to do it special. I decided I might be able to get a chainsaw clutch and put it on the weed eaters, and then that would make it a lot better. You could like idle. I felt like Henry Ford while I did it. I'm like, I'm fucking Henry Ford, bitch. I invented the fucking weed eater scooter. There's no way I invented it. I ripped the idea off. Well, I thought of it, and then to do it, I kind of like looked it up. Like, how would I do that? And it was like, you just slap the bitch on there. What the fuck's wrong with it? And so I slapped the bitch on there, and it worked great. And I was like, wow, the fuck. I even made a bike trailer. It's all fucked. I made it wrong. It's all retarded. I got an idea how to fix it. I have to like make it a low rider. It'll be called like the Rat Rod trailer. It's like I got the wheels like this, and then the trailer's on top, and it's top heavy and it tips. So I gotta like make a basket that holds, and it was meant to be like that. It's called a pony trailer. Pony trailer. Oh yeah, the lamp. Another guy had the same one. Mine was actually better. Mine's a little rustier though. His was a little less rusty, but I like rust. The bike that I had, it was so rusty. I was trying to sand the rust off, and some of it came off, and then like the painted parts, like I don't know, it was retarded. It like made it like 30% better which ain't a whole lot or something. I was like 20% better or something. But I still sold it for 20 bucks. It was a really badass bike. I don't care if I just make profit. It's like I buy this pot. I should say Dutch oven. People will be like, "The fuck you talking about?" I buy a Dutch oven, and then I sell the Dutch oven. Look at my coffee. Bought a phone for $1. Like, those are at least like $11, and that's cheap. Like, the dollar store had them for $11. Walgreens, they wanted $14. I bought it for $1. The guy was like $4, and I'm like, he's like $3. And I'm like, he's like $2. $1. Okay. I tested it, it works. It seems to work. I haven't really called myself with it yet, I guess. Yeah, but the lamp, it's selling for 50 bucks. I bought it for 2. So I'm not really looking to get 50, like 20. I'd be happy with that. It's a really cool lamp. It's actually, there's a lot of brass on it. It's got that milk glass too. I'm liking it. I had to rewire it. Here's the ancient light fixture out of it. The Dutch oven was funny. I bought it because I knew, like, I buy them for 15, and they better be good. So that one, I was like, boy, that's the unmarked Griswold that I just sold one of those for 30 bucks, and I'm like, and I bought it for 15, and I'm like, well, then I'll buy this one for 15 and then sell it for 30. And so that was the second day over a week that I seen it and offered 15, and finally got it for 15. And then I'm sitting there scrubbing it, and this guy goes, "How much is that? $30? Well, how about 25? Well, I haven't cleaned it yet, so that's worth $5. Yeah, I'll sell it for 25, only because I haven't cleaned it yet. If I had cleaned it, then it would be 30. So he handed me $25 and walked off with Dutch oven. And so it was instant. It was like, this has been sitting here for 2 weeks, but now it's mine, and I'm cleaning it. Oh, and now it's $10. Like, I don't know. I could have bought it anytime, but I clean it, and then it's like, it's worth 25. Well, the puppet that I found in the garbage, I found the puppet in the garbage. I'm like, this thing is just kind of cool, and I'm like, and so I was sitting there and I was bored, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna mess with this puppet. So I was making it climb things and making it look as live as I can, and it just looked alive. Like it just looked like the strings went away, and it was like, and people are like, I gotta have that. And people are like trying to buy it, and I'm like, one guy's like, I'll give you $1 and $2. And they're like, I want to do that too. I had them all fucking like, buying that shit. I was like zapping things, and I was like, look at this zapper that I have, and I'm like, they're like, I gotta have that. How much is that? $15. And then sometimes they don't buy anything. I don't really care. I guess then that's when I buy things. So I'm sure they know me. So it's kind of interesting. It's probably why they don't buy from me sometimes. I always try to be nice. I'm just trying to have fun or whatever. They'll eventually shut that shit. They'll shut that place down. Oh yeah. This guy had a boat. Yeah, this is 49 megahertz. I got this for free. I was like, oh cool, how much is this? And he's like, free, you can have it. And I'm like, oh, now I gotta buy something. And he had this old phone, and I'm like, how much do you want for the old phone? He's like, $5. And I'm like, fine, I'll buy it. Get that old phone now. I kinda like it though. It's not real practical. I just thought it like as a prop. Old, like I got the old lamp, the old phone, the old radio. I might keep that. All the old things, I'm gonna put them all together and have like a bunch of antique shit. I have bought Doc Martens that fit me for $11. They're perfect. There's all kinds of boots and bikes. Yeah, they had a really nice bike. I really would have bought it, honestly. And come to think of it, to sell it for about $300. I won't do it if it's kind of like weird like that. Like, it's kind of like too good. If I was a little tiny bit richer, I'd probably do it. I don't know why. I'm just like that. I'd rather buy something for $5 and like cherish it and find value and things to like about it, and go, oh, look at this mark here, I have to fix that, and then like it because there's something unique that you have to fix about it. And if anything, every little thing makes it unique. If you're like, oh, the tire wobbles, that's just how the bike rolls down the road. And sometimes that can be better than the $30 bike. And it's like, that's where like sometimes I'm like, ending is better than mending. Like, I'd rather buy things broken sometimes. I buy broken weed eaters for fun. Because it's like the thrill, it starts and you're like, oh, it's alive, ha 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 ha. Let's throw it on a bike, and then the bike's alive, and you're like, oh, the bike's alive. Make a weed eater powered car. Like, link like 5 or 6 of them together. With a big chain, and just have them all like linked to that chain. And you'll be like, people will be like, what the fuck? I will just do it. I don't think it'd be very valuable. You probably wouldn't like sell it as a Ferrari or anything, or even a Mustang, but a weed eater engine powered car. I'm gonna buy a junkyard car, gutted, just put weed eaters all around, and then link them with chains, and then link the drive that has the chain on the sprocket, and then it's run into the transmission. It could just have a regular car transmission, and I'll just figure out how to like reverse engineer the transaxle with just a welding, and I'll just like weld something, like put it in there, and that wouldn't work. But actually, now I got this for free. So I was looking at this boat, and the guy had $8, and so I started haggling with him, and he stopped at $5, and I was like, well, I'll usually only pay $1 or $2 for these boats. And he's like, it doesn't have the remote. I said, I collect remotes, and I said, but my remote's 49 megahertz, it won't work. I said, your boat's a 27 megahertz boat, so I'd still have to find another remote. And so actually it didn't work out. I didn't buy the boat. I think I had him at 5, or probably 4 or 5. I'd resell the boat for about 8. He's wanted 8. That's what I would get, is 8. But I would fix it. It was broken. It didn't have a remote. It was actually broken. It was missing screws, and it was bowing up in the middle. But I keep a lot of the same screws for that reason. You just put a couple screws, batteries. Keep batteries. They say like don't mix battery brands, and sometimes they're like, people will just have like bins of like mixed batteries, and you're like, it looks like a nightmare, but it might be a good deal. You buy a tester and be like, put them in a tester. Batteries are expensive. Maybe when I see the bins of batteries, I should get a tester and be like, how much are you charging for these? $4 for a quarter. So they're like, okay, do you mind if I test the ones? And just do it real quick. Be like, slip them in the tester and be like, okay, this one's good. Do 4, there's $1. or there's 25 cents or something, I don't know. I bet once you test them, they'll know they're good and they'll probably want more. Because people are bastards. It's pretty cool. It's like I remember back in the 80s we used to do it too. And then in the 90s we did it. So I've been doing this stuff since the 80s. I remember the 80s. I remember in the 80s I never really bought things. I think I bought military stuff. That was the only thing I really bought. Like, you could find a universal cleaver for a couple bucks, and then there's a guy that sharpens it, so you could have like perfect zombie apocalypse weapons. Like, you could get like a machete or a sword. You'd probably charge more for a sword. Like, I've been really wanting this stuff. I've been really wanting it. And I go to the store, and it's like $8, $8. Now, I did go to the store one day, and I seen it, and it was like $4, 4 or 5. And I was like, but I was like yard sailing or picking or whatever you call it, and I'm walking around and you look around and I seen this sitting there and I'm like, I've been wanting that, and they're $4 or $5, and I'm like, how much do you want for these? And it's like, you can feel they're heavy. You don't even have to open it. You just pick it up and you're like, this is heavy. I don't even have to open it. How much do you want for it? And they're like, you can have both for $1. And I'm like, that's about $10 worth of shit for $1. So I buy it, and then I take it over and I set it down, and people are like buying things, and they come over and they're like, are you selling these? Yeah. How much do you want for them? $8. Really? You really want that much for them? And I'm like, yeah. And it's because they really weren't for sale. I wanted them, but if they want them, they can buy them for $8 or whatever. And so they're like looking at me weird, and they're kind of like walking off like backwards, like looking weird, like evil person. But not really, you know. And so one guy came up. He had this huge brace on around his body. He was in a big brace. And he's like, I want all this big shit. Like, all the big shit, I want it, but I can't lift it. How much do you want for it? And I'm like, I don't know. The body brace guy gets everything 50% off today. And I'm like, you also get 5 things for free with your purchase today. And he's like, okay. So I'm like, he's like, okay, it was like $70. I was like, you can have all this shit. And he's like, okay. And he like takes all my shit. Because I honestly felt like I wouldn't have sold it otherwise. Like, I wouldn't have sold all that shit otherwise. But if I lumped it all together at a big discount, not only do you make money on something you might not have otherwise, but you get rid of it too, so you get more room for more shit without throwing it away, because you don't want to throw it away. So it's like part of the deal. You're like, okay, you're buying $70 worth of stuff. Here's the deal. Let's make you a deal. And then you give them a deal. And I'm like, you get all this and then 5 things for free. And they're like, okay. And then you see it, you're like, okay, this and this and this. So the guy had a Mazda 4-door 3, like a regular car, a new car, like a brand new Mazda, 4-door hatchback. So I filled the whole thing, like bullshit, and like sent him on his way. And he was like happy body cast guy, a lot of shit, and he can't carry none of it. It wasn't that heavy. I could carry it by myself, but then again, I'm like fucking like a weightlifter or something. What the fuck? Like, I just look at it. I try to look at everybody's stuff and just look. I like just looking at it. And sometimes if they get mad, they see you looking at it. Sometimes people kind of like be like, "You looking at my stuff?" Like, "Oh, how much is it?" "You looking at my stuff? Better buy it now. Buy now or leave. You buy now or leave." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm leaving." So I leave, and then so I look. And sometimes I'll pull my money out, and I'll be handing it to them, ready to make a deal, and I'll change my mind, and I'll go, "Never mind. I changed my mind. I don't want it." And so it would be good to have it, but sometimes I just I'm like, no. So I'm kind of a dick sometimes. Or I always go I try to find the bottom dollar and go just a little under that. Like if the guy with the bike, he was like 40, I'm like 20. He's like 30, I'm like 25. And that's the highest I'll go. And he's like, "No." So I walk away, come back, and I'm like 20. And he's like, "No." Hopefully he doesn't sell it. It's a broken bike, but I really like it. I like broken bikes, and it's like a $5,000 bike. But then a guy comes up and says to me, "I have one of those bikes you laid down on." And I'm like, I love those bikes. I've never had one. I've never had a bike you lay down on. I know what he's talking about. It's called a recumbent. And he's like, "I'll sell it to you for 60 bucks. I bought it for 30, but I wanted it, but then I changed my mind, but they're good. It's 60. And I'm like, well, that's still worth it. It's like a $500 bike or a $1,000 bike. And they're custom built. They're made, like, you can't make them in China. They're too stupid. They can only make regular bikes. Can't make lay down bikes. They don't even know what it is. Like if somebody on a recumbent passed me, I would have to say hi, because it's a pretty nice, substantial bike. There's a lot of bikes you could buy. A recumbent is like, either you're rich and it doesn't mean anything, or like you buy a $1,000 bike. It's like you're pretty invested in some level. But if you just like, if $500 is nothing, like $500, it's like, I don't really care about you a whole lot, unless like you're really into recumbents or something. Not to be a dick or nothing, yeah. Actually, you know, maybe if you're that rich, I don't know, maybe. Maybe you're intelligent enough to know. Let's get someone on a Skype call. We'll have to ask them what's up. Let's call them. The phone's ringing. Brrr. Hello. This is a reminder from Facebook. You need to feed your farm animals. Thank you. We are hanging up. Make sure you visit us at facebook.com. Remember, facebook.com, www.facebook.com. Or you could visit us at facebook.org in the outer reaches of space. If you are in the Noah's Ark spaceship headed for planet Alpha Centauri, you can visit us at www.facebook.outerspace supercomputer telepathic-ability.com. I could only sell one thing online, and that's a steamer, or something big. Like, I sold a fridge, I sold a grill. There's a lot of things. They usually have to be big. Like a washing machine. I sold one of those. I had like a storm drain, and it didn't sell till it rained. Rained really hard and was flooding. And like, people were calling in, they're like, I need this storm drain for my yard or something. And I'm like, that's weird how weather affects things that you might have. Like, it never sells, but then all of a sudden it rains, and all of a sudden it's like you just make some random, you have a storm drain. Like, one guy had a round wooden window, and it was wood. It was really nice, and I'm like, and they're like, it's like, how much do you want for the window? And they're like, well, we bought it for $600 or something. And I'm like, well, how much do you want for it? But I don't remember what they said. But it's still pretty cool. It looked like the perfect window to put somewhere. Like your attic. Because it was round. So you can have like a badass attic window. That'd be pretty cool. I was like, I don't need a window, but it's kind of cool to know, like, you can find the coolest fucking shit like that. Like, to have that window in your house. They had really cool windows too. Like, not only would they have round, you'd go to a different place and they'd have like one stained glass window, and you're like, oh man, whoa, those are fucking nice. And then you're like, how much? $20? And you're like, I don't have $20, but I probably would buy it. Plus, I don't have anywhere to put it, so I'm not gonna buy it. But then you see somebody buy it, kind of scoot it over to where they're selling, and they're like, I want $100, and you're like, yeah, it's probably worth it. And then they sell it, and somebody drags it over, and they're like, I want $200. And so I kind of do a little of that too. I don't think it's bad. Some people encourage me to do it. They're like, buy this from me and take it over and sell it. at your booth. I'm like, okay. I kind of wanted them. I had this one item, and I'm like, man, it would look so good in their booth because they have a nice booth, and this item is perfect for their booth. But it sucks in my booth. It looks like crappy. But in theirs, it would look amazing. And I thought, man, I'd almost sell it to them for really cheap, just so I could like look at my stuff in their booth. But that stuff, I was like, fuck it, I'll sell it. It makes it. I said, you know, if I think it makes their booth look better, it'll make my booth look better. So I thought, I'll keep it here. It makes my booth look better. So eventually a guy comes up and he's like, dissing it. He's like, it's fucked up. I'm like, no, in fact, it's collectible. And that's not fucking it up, that's art. And he's like, I don't like it. I'm like, I don't care. And so I'm telling him, like, I'm like, well, there's at least $8 to $10 invested in that thing. And I said, I won't take no less than 8. That's what I got invested. I gotta at least get that out of it. I was like, I'd only sell it for that because you seem kind of interested. Yeah, I found it in the trash. But it's nice. It's worth like $50. I mean, maybe $100. Like, that's not even no joke. Like, no joke. Seriously. To the right person, it's legit. Like, things have a legit price. Like, I mean, and it's not some made up, oh, this was on eBay. It's like, no, this is out of 100 listings. It's like the average going rate. You know. And then under that, it's like, if it's 50 and I'm saying 25, you know, it is what it is. But he got it for 5. It took him like an hour. And I was like, oh my god, it's gonna take forever to sell this thing. But I made 2 sales from it within an hour from him. And so I don't feel like it was a stress at all. It was neat. He bought that spark plug. I told him, I was like, I bought that for $100, but now I don't need it. And so he got me down to like $1, and then it was free. Like, I buy this other item, can I have this with it for free? And I'm like, yeah, because I was already thinking that. I'm like, what if he asks, if he buys something that's more, can he have that for free? I was already thinking, if he says that, I'm going to say yes. And so he said exactly what I was thinking. And I was like, yeah. That does not sound bad. I got that for in the garbage. With the same place and the same thing when I got the other shit. So he got everything I found in the garbage. It must have been his garbage, I bet. He probably recognized all that shit. It must have been. That's why he was trying to, like... He threw it away. And then he was like, I don't care. It's gone. And then he sees it there. And then now I have value to it. And he's like, I threw that away. I better get that back. He's saying it's worth this and that and the other. It probably is. I need that shit back. I'll set that right back on my shelf. I took that off my shelf and threw it away. I don't need that back. I'll pay $1 to get that back. I'm a dumbass. That shit was $50. Like, I would do that. So, if he did, he got his shit back for $6. I doubt it was his. He might have seen it. Maybe his friend had it, and then his friend threw it away. And it reminded him of his friend or something. No, I'm not allowed to say that, right? I said that wrong. I said that backwards, right? I don't know, I feel like I farted. And it really smells. I'm gonna drink some coffee and smell that instead. So I found a boat. And I was like, well, that's 27 megahertz. Mine's 49. And I told him about the boat. I said, you can probably find a remote, a couple bucks around here. I said, then you'll sell it for $8. I said it's probably worth $8 with a remote. $10 on a good day for the right person. I already had one. I bought it for $1, and I had a remote. I had to take it from my other remote control car, but it kind of breaks. It's kind of broken. And I think it works, but it's kind of like, it was like a shitty car. But the remote is not really shitty. It can make the boat from $1 to a working $10 boat. So I sold it for $10. I bought it for $1. Of course I got it working. I played with it. I stuck it in my bathtub. I went down and put it in a puddle. It was like a big, almost like a little lake. It's kind of like real little. I was like, this thing is awesome. One thing is, I seen a tank. There was a tank about this big. It was an RC tank. It was huge. And it said 49 megahertz. And I'm like, how much do you want for your big tank? And he's like, $1. Please take it. It's huge. And I'm like, I want the tank. And I'm like, can I really take a tank this big? And I'm like, yes and no. I'm like, it's almost as big as a go-kart. I'm like, I could probably sit on it and drive around. And it's like $1. I'm like, I could probably fix it. It's broken. I could probably fix it and resell it for like $100. And I'm like, I would be stupid not to buy this. I'm like, I'm not gonna buy it. I can't carry it. How the fuck am I gonna carry that? This one guy was like, you can have my TV for free. It's huge. Like 40, 50 inch, really old TV. So I like picked it up and carried it so I could see if it worked. And then I seen it worked, and I'm like, man, it's just so fucking weird. So I went around trying to sell it to everybody. And I almost had this guy buy it for $1, but then he's like, you're gonna throw it away, ain't you? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'll just pick it out of the garbage. And I'm like, I'll just put it in the garbage. He can have it. He might get 15, 20 bucks for it. Because I was talking to this old lady, and she's like, my son needs a TV for his Xbox. I'll pay $15. And so she bought one. And then some guy was like, do you want a TV for free? And I'm like, all I need is some lady to walk up and say, do you have a TV? And then boom, there it is. And I'm like, oh, I just have to drag it over here. And it was like, it's like 100 pounds or more. 200 pounds? I don't know, it was fucking huge. But I picked it up and carried it. I only made it halfway before I was like, I'm dead. I still made it though. But they get the TV. They know how to deal. They wheel a card out and they put it on the card and then they wheel it back. So they get the freaking TV. Just because it's too big. It's better for them anyways. They'll put it in their little thing for 15. Somebody will walk by and say, hey, $15, and so let them have $15. Because I'll probably buy something from them and make $15 back someday. She's mad because she don't get to go outside. Are you mad because you don't get to go outside? Sometimes she gets mad. She's like, yeah, and she like tries to bite me. Like, don't kiss me. I think she likes it though. She's purring. She's like, oh. Hey, my baby. Hey, my baby. What a little baby. Right in my neck. I bought another bike for $5. I seen it. It was purple seat. And I seen it forever, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna ask for a while. I'm gonna wait a long time. And then finally, oh. Kill me, kitty. You killed me. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're so bad. Are you okay? I was like, that $5 bike is more broken and dry rotted than this one bike that I have. And I'm like, I said I like dry rotted bikes. They're awesome. And I'm sitting there drooling, and it's got a purple seat, brown bike, purple seat, and I'm like, somebody sold the seat, is what they did, and then they found a purple seat that wasn't worth shit and put that on it, and I'm like, that's fine, because I'm going to put a purple seat, my own purple seat on it. Actually, I gotta go get the purple seat, now that it reminds me, because that purple seat means more than anything to me. I have to go get it right now, because it's down there. And I must have it here. And I must sleep with it, and I'll curl it at night and go, purple seat. I really will. Why? I don't fucking know. Why the fuck not? I'm gonna do it just to fuck with you. Like, I'll have it right next to my pillow, and I'll go, good night, purple seat. And I'll wake up, and the first thing I'll see is a purple seat, and I'll go, what the fuck? And fucking, like, knock it down on the floor and be like, so I better go get it so I can do that before somebody takes it, because they'll be like, I really want that purple seat too, off that brown bike.